So I just want to remind you a little bit about the importance of participating in the class. So even though this is a video, still have your book handy and try to focus on that. Use your notebook, use a pen, and just focus on that. And this is of course important for our classes too. So if you haven't done this already, please make sure you go into Google Classroom. You can search for that in any search engine, and make sure when you go to the Google Classroom website you look for how to sign up for a class. If you can look at this slide, you can see the class codes for all the relevant classes. So if you could sign up for that and before the next time we meet, that would be very useful, because you'll be getting lots of participation points if you complete those tasks in this website. So this particular slide is for class 078. Please make sure you check the dates here. There's of course been a lot of changes due to the coronavirus, but most of the dates will still be correct, especially for midterms, finals and projects. If you have any other questions about the dates, please let me know. This slide is for class 035. Again, all the information here is about the midterms, the finals, the projects. Some of the dates weren't decided because of the problems with the virus, but if you have any questions, please ask me on Kakao or in the classroom or through my email. These dates are for class 048, and if you could send me any requests for information if it's not very clear through this slide, and also hopefully the slide will be correct with regards to the dates for the finals, the projects, the midterms and things like that. This slide is about the information with regards to midterms and finals. So if we haven't done the midterms yet, please look at those this slide and check out the pages and the units that need to be covered. I've given for the midterms units 1, 2, 3 and 4, and in unit 1 you can see the vocabulary is on pages 7 to 9, and the grammar I think is on pages 19 and 20. For the finals we are doing units 5, 6 and 7, and you can see all the pages are outlined there for the grammar and the vocabulary. Don't forget to log on to the Google Classroom and onto Kakao Open Chat, which you should have by now. If not, please talk to another class member or myself. If any of you are interested in working in England, please message me and I will let you know more about that. There are some schools in England where you can study IELTS and other courses, and this particular school is near my hometown, so please go there if you want to study English. I hope you remember to log on to IQ Online. All of that information is at the front of the book. If you go to the front of your book, you can see there are steps to sign on for that, and I recommend you do that because some of the work that I'll ask you to do is online. Some of the listening activities are online, so I hope that you can do that. And here are the passwords for each class, so if you look at over them and then log on to that website that's at the front page of the book. This particular slide is the link to the project work. I hope that you're coming along with that, and make sure you have a team ready to finish that project, and all the information is on the table which you can get through the link. That link is found on any of the slides that I've sent to you via Kakao Open Chat, so you should be able to connect to that and start to work on that project. So this is the midterm test. It's for role plays, and if we've already done the midterm, then don't worry about this. But if we've not done it yet, please work through that and make sure you have a team and make sure everybody participates in the role play, and we'll do that at the appointed time for the midterms. Hi guys, so we're going to turn to Unit 6 on page 126, and this unit is a philosophy unit, and the unit question is, are we responsible for the world we live in? So obviously most of you would say yes to that question, but obviously if you look at this page you can see that this is about environmental issues in the world. And one of the movies that's very important when it comes to sort of expressing a message about environment is a Disney movie called Wall-E. Wall-E is a cute little robot, and he has a friend in the movie, and that friend is a cockroach. Okay, so this was made in 2008, and it's a computer animated science fiction film. It's one of the few science fiction films made by Disney. I love the science fiction films made by Disney. Anyway, so there's the story is, I think, the Earth has been abandoned because there's just too much trash and too much waste. So it's kind of a sad movie in the sense that it shows us the future of how terrible our planet could become. But I think the movie is really also quite well made, and it's an interesting story, and it got an 8.4 score on IMDb, so that's a B minus, almost B plus though, and it's grown in popularity over the years. It's now, according to IMDb website, it's 149 in the popularity list, so that's pretty good. So, there is a few famous actors in it, or voice actors, I think. One of them is Sigourney Weaver. She's the ship's computer. So I just don't know how, these guys, what sort of they did with their voice acting. Maybe just made some robot noises. Okay, so the budget was $180 million to make. That's quite a lot, and in its opening weekend it made $63 million, and its gross US box office take-in was $223 million. Worldwide, 521 $521 million worldwide, and it's a really good movie by Disney. I recommend it. On Rotten Tomatoes, the movie got an A+, 95% from the critics, and 90% of the audience liked it. 10% didn't like it. Why? Maybe it's because it's a little bit of a gloomy kind of message about how we live in luxury and we have stopped caring about the environment. So there's probably there's a deeper message there about how we should change ourselves to change the world we live in. So one of the critics said this is one of the most imaginatively made and individual pieces of work that the audacious Pixar has developed. So I recommend that as a movie to watch. So this terrible picture here is a city covered in haze caused by pollution, perhaps. It's a really good picture there of, I don't know what city that is, but I think every city in the world has this problem. So this mind map is about chores around the house. I thought it would be quite a useful thing to discuss, because if we look at the chapter generally, it's about being responsible. So I guess most of you still live with your parents when you're not at school, and so I guess you also may have had to do chores around the house. Not everyone did chores, but maybe you did. So basically, if we could do a mind map about chores that people do around the house, okay? So usually it's the parents that do most of the chores, right? But you know, sometimes children do them too, or young people, okay? And if I think about what I used to do as a child, I was quite lazy, but I did try to do some chores for my mother. So there's some daily chores like sweeping and vacuuming, washing dishes. Do you have a dog or a cat? Feeding the pets is a chore. So what about doing the laundry? Who washes your clothes? I try to do that once or twice a week. Who does the cooking in your house? I'm really lazy, so I don't really do a lot of cooking, but I do prepare a bit of cooking every now and again. But I'm not a very good cook. Do you cook your own food, or is the food that you cook delicious, or is it low quality food? Maybe you just cook ramen, I don't know. What about the bathroom? Who cleans the bathroom in your house? It's not the best job in the world, but someone's got to do it. And then there's dusting. It gets quite dusty in houses. Sometimes you have to do a weekly chore, like washing your bedding, or mopping floors, or watering the plants. Do you have any plants in your house that you need to water? Mowing the lawn if you've got a lawn. I don't think Koreans have lawns. Or you don't do any gardening, because most people live in apartments, so they don't have gardens. How about taking out the trash? Who takes out the trash in your house? And who separates the trash between, you know, the food trash, the recycling trash, and the other trash? And who washes the car? Do you have a car? Who washes your car? Does your mum have a car? And then there's other things that need to be done, maybe monthly. Window washing. Do you wash your windows, or is that something your mum or dad do? Washing the animals. Do you wash the pets? So you have to feed them, but sometimes they need to be washed too. How about the refrigerator? Who cleans out dirt in the refrigerator? That's a monthly chore, right? And then the air conditioner's filter needs to be changed. And then if you've got blinds, or you need curtains, you need to clean the curtains and the blinds. And then shampooing the carpets and cleaning out the garage, and if you've got a garden, pruning trees and shrubs. So anyway, think about the chores that you have, make a list, mind map them. Okay, you can work with your team doing that. Now we're going to go through the book. So if we turn to page 126, and let's look at the pictures. The main picture there, the big picture, is a man at the front of the picture and 4 other people in the background, and he's wearing a green t-shirt, and on the t-shirt is a white image of a recycling sign, and he's got that bag, and there's lots of people picking up trash there. You can see all the trash on the floor. There's white bits of trash and people are picking them up. And then the other picture right in the middle between the 2 pages are trash cans, 4 types: paper, glass, metal and plastic. And then on page 127 you can see what they're called, wind turbines, I think, and they're like windmills, you know, and creating wind power and wind energy. It's a renewable energy. It's good for the environment. And then so you can see that image at the bottom. It's like a brainstorming image or a mind map. Lots of images there about recycling and looking after the environment and things. So if we go back to page 126, the first question is, what does to take responsibility mean? Well, you can look it up in the dictionary, and it might have one meaning, but what does it mean for you? What does it mean to take responsibility, you know? So it's a noun, responsibility, the state or fact of having a duty to deal with something or having control over someone. So we have a duty to deal with the environment, right? We have a duty, the state or fact of being accountable or to blame for something. So we are accountable for our environment, and we are to blame if it goes wrong. Another meaning for responsibility is the opportunity or ability to act independently and make decisions without authorization. So as a people, we have independence and we can make decisions, and often when it comes to the environment we do tend to make bad decisions. So what bad decisions do you make? So let's go to question number 2. Do you think you are a responsible citizen? Do you think you are responsible? Do you litter places? Do you drop trash? Or are you a responsible person? Do you do your duty? Are you accountable for your decisions? Are you acting independently and making decisions without authorization, but that are responsible and good for our society? Okay, so think about that for yourself. And the last question, number 3, look at the photo. What are these people doing and why? Why do people care for the environment? What makes people want to look after the environment? I think it has something to do with the desire to be happy in this world, right? We all desire to be happy. Let's go to the next page, page 127. There's a listening activity here, part B. Listen to the Q Classroom online, then answer these questions. What 3 ways are mentioned as ways in which people can be responsible in their communities? Which of these things do you do? Which don't you do? Why not? So I'm guessing, number 1, that they I think you should guess actually. What 3 things do you think they will mention? I wonder what would be something good for the environment that we can do in our neighborhoods. Maybe doing what they're doing in that picture, picking up trash. Maybe turning off the lights and the electricity. Question number 2. Felix says it is not realistic to expect everyone to do those things as they don't have time. Do you agree? I don't know what they say yet, but people don't have time to look after the environment. It's a very sad situation. You can see there are 3 words. Betterment. In the green box there are 3 words. Betterment is a noun, the process of becoming or making someone or something better. Stigma, feeling of disapproval about certain illnesses or behavior. Take it for granted is a phrase. Be so accustomed to something that you no longer think about its value. Okay, and then let's go to the next page, page 128. On page 128 is a survey. Complete the web survey, then work with a partner. Discuss who you think should be responsible for each activity. So here's a survey, an online survey called Roles and Responsibilities. And then it's got a question. Who should be responsible for? Jum, jum, jum. In the blue box are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 individuals and its parents, children, individuals, government, volunteer groups, charities, and other. I think volunteer groups and charities, volunteers work for charities, but volunteers can also work for the government. Okay, but basically a volunteer group are groups of people who don't get paid to do work. At the bottom you can see some pictures. The first picture is someone putting trash in a trash can. The second picture is a sign that says one way. Then there's a recycling sign. Then it looks like a police officer's hat. Then there's a family walking together, a mother and child, I think, and then there's some elderly people. Let's look at the first one, picking up litter. Who should be responsible for picking up litter? Well, I know what I think. What about you? Is it the charity's responsibility to pick up litter? I don't think so. Reducing traffic accidents. Whose role is it to reduce traffic accidents? It's not mine. I don't know. Obviously people who drive cars. Number 3. Recycling, use bottles, paper, etc. Number 4 is fighting crime. Wow, I think that would be governments, right? Or parents. Should parents fight crime? Maybe. Number 5, making sure children go to school. Who should make sure children go to school? Who should make sure that children go to school? Last one, taking care of the elderly. Should take care of the elderly. So put your answers in there and then compare that with other people in the class. Part F, work in a group. Discuss your ideas from activity E, give reasons for your answers. Then discuss how responsible you personally feel for each activity. Give examples. Well, I think I personally feel responsible for recycling and picking up litter. I think that's definitely my responsibility. What about you? I definitely should pick up litter when I drop it, and I definitely should recycle in my house. Okay, I want us to look at some extra questions about chores and just discuss these and talk about these, and there's 20 questions here, so there's a lot to talk about. You can answer these questions yourself and then discuss them and compare them with people in your group or in the class or with friends or with your parents or your girlfriend or boyfriend or even a professor. So here's question number 1. How do you feel about housework? When I was a child, I hated it. Now I really want to do it because I want to be in a clean environment. What about you? How do you feel about housework? Number 2. Describe the housework routine where you are currently living. So I personally like to have a cleaner come in and clean my house, but I do sweep now and again, and I wash my duvet and my clothes and my cups and saucers and knives and forks, and I try to do a bit of cleaning, but every 2 weeks the cleaner comes in and does a lot of things that I don't normally do. How about you? What is the routine in your house? Number 3. Which chores do you least prefer to do? Well, honestly, I don't like any chores. I guess the hardest thing is ironing my clothing, and I never really iron them. But yeah, that's probably the most difficult thing. Which housework duties do you prefer to do? I don't know. I guess just throwing everything in the washing machine is so easy, so I prefer that one. How do you feel about chore schedules or rosters? Well, I don't really have a schedule or roster because I live alone. Some people do, and but I don't have one. But I remember having one when I lived with my friends, and it was difficult. I didn't like it. Have you ever lived in a house with a chore schedule? Yes. How did you feel about it? I hated it. I lived with some friends in England. I didn't like doing the chores. How do you feel about people who do not keep to the housework roster? I completely understand them because I've been there myself. I do not like to keep my housework roster. What do you feel is the best method of keeping an apartment or house clean and tidy? I recommend getting a cleaner. But I guess if you couldn't afford that and you had to work, I think chores are, there should be a list of daily chores, weekly chores, and monthly chores, and just stick to that as you know, as much as you can. Don't spend too much time doing them. Number 9. Have you ever had a dispute with a flatmate over housework? Yes. One of my friends used to get angry with me because I didn't clean well. I'm not very good at cleaning. I've always been a bit terrible with that. Have you ever asked a flatmate to leave over an issue about a housework or cleanliness? No, I haven't, but it can. I remember I fell out with one of my housemates because of something. It can happen, but it's never happened to me. Anyway, answer the other 10 questions as well. Work as a team, work as a group if you like. So, or just individually write down your answers and share these with friends. So that one there, number 1, have you been asked to leave due to an issue about housework? So that's like question 10 from the other list, but reverse. There's an question 8 there. Have you ever created a household chore roster? Yes, I think we did in my house when I had some housemates. Okay, so continue with those questions and answer them together. So here's a video of some machinery at a dump site with so much trash, and society has become a really trashy place in many ways, always trash everywhere. What is your opinion about trash? What do you think about the trash in the world? Do you think we should send our trash to other countries, or is it our responsibility? How can we decrease the amount of trash in our society? If you remember the movie WALL-E, there were skyscrapers of trash there. Many people left the planet because of the amount of trash that was building up over years at the trash sites. And you know, what is your opinion about trash in the ocean? What do you think about trash in you know, and the oil pollution and things like that? There's so many things we could do to improve our environment, and I want to ask you some other questions here, and I want you to talk about your opinions. So here's some questions. There's 12 here. You don't have to do all of them, but let's just go through them together. What's your opinion on abortion? These days Korea is in the process of legalizing abortion. I think some people feel angry about it, other people think it's about time it's happened. I think there's just this kind of the usual conflict between conservatives and more liberal thinkers, I guess. Number 2 is, what's your opinion on gay marriage? That's been legalized around the world now. Number 3, what's your opinion on lowering the age of voting to 16, so that 16-year-olds, high school students, can vote for their government? What's your opinion on drug testing of students in schools? Sometimes in countries where there's a lot of drug use, schools try to test young people to see if they've got any drugs in their blood system. Do you think that should be in Korea? And what's your opinion on legalized gun possession? Do you think it's okay for South Korea to have legalized gun possession so people can carry guns around? What do you think about that? What's your opinion on the death penalty? In some cases, is the death penalty justified? Should we kill people, I don't know, for their crimes? What's your opinion on animal testing? There's a company called Body Shop who make a lot of products without animal testing, but in Korea there's lots of animal testing. What do you think about animal testing? Is it a good idea? Here's another one. What's your opinion on legalizing marijuana? Okay, so in some countries it's legal. I think it's now legal in certain parts of the USA, But should it be legalized in South Korea? What do you think? Do you think marijuana is good for medicine to help people, or should it be completely outlawed? What do you think? So number 9 is animal testing. I've repeated that one. Whoops. What about number 10? Government monitoring of internet use. So in some dictatorships, in some countries where there's authoritarian dictatorships, the internet is monitored all the time. Do you think it should be monitored, or should we be free to do whatever we want on the internet? And number 11, euthanasia. What does that mean? It means if somebody is very sick and they want to die, the doctor should put them to death. What's your opinion about that? Do you think it's okay to put people to death because they want to die? I think some people might think it's okay, but I think others would think it's a terrible, terrible idea. So what about you? Do you think euthanasia is the good idea or not? And the last one here, free healthcare for all Koreans. Instead of having to pay so much money to go to a hospital, should it all be free? I think so. Yeah, let's make all those big hospitals free for everyone. No more expensive hospitals. I think we should end that. Make it like the UK, where we get free healthcare. Yay! What I want us to do now is prepare a role play. This role play is a role play about a discussion between housemates. Two housemates want there to be more responsibility taken by all housemates. Others in the house are a bit lazy. There's lots of chores. We talked about chores earlier. So this is kind of where you can perhaps give each member of the household a chore to do. No one likes chores. Let's talk about the checklist that I had before, that I talked about before. And we need to sort of split them. Let's say there's 4 people living in the house, and there's weekly chores and daily chores. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's say there's 12 chores to do, and we need to split that between 4 or 3 people. If it's between 3 people, then it's 4 chores each. If it's between 4 people, then it's 3 chores each. And so, for example, each person can get a room to clean. Okay, everyone has to clean their bedrooms, but out of the other chores, people need to choose one to clean. So, for example, someone needs to clean the kitchen. So, perhaps one person can do that. Someone else needs to clean the living room. So, I think you need to decide how to solve this dilemma. Do you divide all the tasks between everyone, but then people might complain and say, oh, this one's too difficult, why did you give me this one? So, and who gets to decide anyway? So you need to sort of come to an agreement, and this is what the role play is about. It's about coming to an agreement about who does the chores around the house. And if you have a garden, who's going to look after the garden? I think having a garden just adds that little bit of an extra problem for people, because there's lots of things to do there, like cutting the grass and making sure there's someone cleans up the rubbish and things like that. Weeding as well. Weeding is where you pull out the weeds from the ground. So think about the chores that you might have in a house with other friends, maybe some university students. You live together for a semester and you've got to keep it clean and work together. How do you do that? So someone's got to do the vacuuming, or the sweeping, or the laundry, or the dusting. There's lots of things that need to be done around the house. So make that into a kind of role play and a discussion. So this game is called the NASA game. I'll read the game. So you know NASA is an American organization that sends spaceships and satellites and other things into space, and sometimes with people. So, and you know, sometimes accidents happen, like Apollo 13. So in this game, there's you are one of the crew on board a spaceship to rendezvous with the mothership on the lighted side of the moon. Mechanical difficulties, however, have forced your ship to crash land at a spot some 300 kilometers from the rendezvous point. The rough landing has damaged much of the equipment aboard. Your survival depends on reaching the mothership, and you have to choose the most essential items for the 300-kilometer trip. The 15 items left intact after landing are listed. Your task is to rank them in order of their importance to your crew in your attempt to reach the rendezvous point. Write down 1 for the most important, number 2 for the second most important, and so on through to number 15. So here we've got a list of 15 things. Some of them are pretty big and some of them are quite small. Some of them are very heavy, some of them are very light, but obviously some of them are really important and some of them are not. So I guess if we go through them, and you can decide which ones are important, which are not, and then out of the ones that are important, which are the most important, and rank them by number, and out of the ones and the others, just rank them by number. So number 1, box of matches. Can we use matches in space? I don't know, because you need oxygen, right? So I think they're kind of useless. What about concentrated food? Is that important? Number 2, I think it's important. We need food to survive. Number 3, some rope. What about rope? Could that be something needed? I personally think so. Ropes are quite important. Parachute silk. Why do we need a parachute on the moon? I don't know. Portable heating unit. We got to keep warm. It must be cold up there. A pistol. 2 .45 caliber pistols. We could have a shootout. Nah, that would be pretty dangerous. I don't know. Do we need them? 1 case of tins of dried milk. I think we need the milk, but we have to have some water for that. And I think we need water for the concentrated food as well. 2 kilogram tanks of oxygen. Very important to have that, right? Star map. Perhaps we need that to get guidance. A life raft. That's for when we go back to the Earth. If we land in the sea, you need a life raft. But we don't have a life raft. Magnetic compass. We need a magnetic compass. 20 liters of water. Well, we need the water definitely to drink and to make the food and the milk. Signal flares. Yes, maybe if we're in help, we needed help, and there's somebody at the on the moon that can see us, then we could use the signal flares. Yeah. So you want to get to the mothership, and maybe if they see that, they'll come and get you. First aid kit. I think so. You've crash landed. There might be an injury. Solar powered FM receiver and transmitter. Yes, it's on the lighted side of the moon, so the sun is there. So which ones do you think are the most important here? Which ones do you think are a complete waste of space? You decide. So pollution is absolutely awful, and we need to be more responsible over our planet. But we also need to study English. So let's go to page 139, and as you can see, we've got the grammar there, and I want us to talk about the grammar, gerunds and infinitives as objects. A gerund is the base form of the verb plus ing. Gerunds can be used as the objects of certain verbs. For example, admit, avoid, discuss, dislike, enjoy, finish, miss, and quit. Nigel enjoys doing the chores. After she left home, Emily missed seeing her family. An infinitive is to plus the base form of the verb. Infinitives can also be used as the objects of certain verbs. For example, agree, choose, decide, hope, learn, need, plan, and want. Managers decided to ignore safety concerns. The company plans to reduce pollution by 10% over the next year. Some verbs can be followed by either a gerund or an infinitive with no difference in meaning. For example, begin, hate, like, love, prefer. Workers at the factory began demanding better conditions and more pay. Or workers at the factory began to demand better conditions and more pay. If we go to this picture now, you can see I've left them blank and you need to decide what the correct answer is in there for those gerunds. Okay, and the first question is, Yeji always enjoys, and I've given you the verb go, to the movies. Is it going or to go? You can decide. B. Ji-sung missed, the verb is play, for the football team. Is it to play or playing? Number C. The professor decided, using the word give, him an A, to give or giving. D. The team plans, the verb is make. I've given you the answer there. It's to make a presentation on B's. Okay, skip D. Let's go to E. She admitted, have. She admitted, is it to have an affair with a manager or having an affair with a manager? Jaemin chose, is it to eat or eating at a restaurant around Itaewon? My Chinese friend hated, is it to live away or living away from home? I much prefer to study or studying science than language. So try to answer those questions and put your answers in there. So this is gerunds and infinitives, and you can find the help on page 139. Now before we finish, I want to talk about some movies and music which are about making sure we look after our environment. So here's a list of movies. The first movie here is Erin Brockovich, and this movie is a movie with Julia Roberts, and she's a great actress, and she plays, this is a true story actually, this is a true story about a woman called Erin Brockovich, and she is a woman who cares about the environment. Actually, she has a lot of compassion for the environment, and in this movie she tries to stop some companies from being irresponsible, but she obviously upsets a lot of people, because you know, when you come up against big companies, they can get angry, can't they? They can be a little bit upset. So she has to take a stand, and she has to try to challenge injustice, and she has to speak out against the behavior of corporations that stop caring for people. So as the director of the movie is a man called Steven Soderbergh. He's quite famous, and it's really about how a mother can do so much to change some negative situation, and the film is really an attack on corporate America and their kind of hypocrisy and the way that they treat people. So it got 7.3 on IMDb, so that's a C minus, but on Rotten Tomatoes it got 84, so that's a B minus, plus 81% of audiences really like the film. There's some other movies there that I recommend you watch, called Philadelphia, The Insider, The Informant, and Margin Call, and even some music there which is about corruption and how we have to try to change the society we live in, like Rocking in the Free World by Neil Young, and there's other songs there. And this is the end of the class. See you in the next class. Thank you for listening, and talk to you soon.